I never imagined a small sauna in the middle of Seattle could stir something inside me. I'm Ethan, 29, and for the last 3 years I've managed the Capitol Hill Community Sauna. On paper, the job is simple. Keep the steam steady, the towels clean, and the place welcoming. But it's more than routine. People walk in carrying stories, stress, and silence, and I've learned to notice what they need without asking. A quiet spot, a drink of water, or just space to breathe. It's steady, and I like that. Then Julian appeared. It was a gray Tuesday, the kind where the city feels heavy and the sauna moved at a slower rhythm. The regulars were around. Sam, a former runner always joking about his knees, and Tara, a barista who never ran out of opinions. Everything felt ordinary until the door opened. Julian stepped in without a word. Yet the air shifted. His stride was measured, shoulders squared, not demanding attention but still drawing it. He climbed to the top bench, sat down, and closed his eyes like he was shutting out the world. I noticed right away, not because of how he looked, though he carried a quiet strength, but because the room itself seemed to shrink around him. Sam went silent. Tara's tone softened, even the steam curled differently. I offered him a towel, expecting at least a nod. Instead, he took it without looking, his hand brushing mine for a fleeting second. "Julian Carter?" he said when I asked his name. His voice was clipped, careful, each word guarded. Then he turned toward the lockers without another glance. Told myself it was just curiosity. As the manager, I pay attention to patterns. Who talks, who doesn't, who sits where. But Julian didn't fit. 2 days later, he was back. Same time, same bench, same silence. I began watching for him, adjusting the cedar oil and steam before his arrival, hoping he might notice. If he did, he never showed it. He just sat there, eyes closed, hands resting on his knees, like he was weathering a storm only he could feel. The regulars nicknamed him the broker after Sam joked he looked like someone sealing big business deals. The name stuck, though no one dared say it to his face. Julian had a way of making you feel like a guest in your own space. I tried to reach out once. "How's the heat today?" I asked. He gave me a short, "Fine," a passing note about the rain, and a nod. Nothing more. Still, I kept trying, checking the temperature more often than needed, hovering nearby under the excuse of work. Deep down, I knew better. Something about Julian drew me in. His stillness, his guardedness, the weight he seemed to carry without saying a word. Each visit became part of my rhythm. I caught myself timing the cedar oil to his usual hour, glancing at the door when the clock neared it. He'd always take the same bench, eyes closed, body unmoving like stone. His silence wasn't harsh. It was just unshakable, a wall I couldn't get through. And every time he left without a word, something inside me tightened. I didn't realize it then, but that was the spark. Quiet, persistent, the kind that would grow into something I couldn't ignore. A quick "see you" and a polite, distant nod. That was all I ever got. It shouldn't have stung, but it did. The regulars kept calling him the broker, spinning little stories about his supposed Wall Street life. Sam would joke that he was sweating out a bad trade, while Tara rolled her eyes but still joined in, tossing out her own theories about his mystery. I laughed along with them, hiding how closely I was watching. The way his hands flexed when he thought no one was looking. The way he lingered a moment longer when the steam was thickest. I told myself it was just part of the job, observation. But that was a lie. My schedule started bending toward him. I'd switch shifts, stay later than I needed, anything just to be there when he arrived. Then came the moment that cut deeper than I expected. I saw him with Mia, the yoga instructor who stopped by after class. Inside the steam room, Julian was actually talking. Not just one-word replies, but a real conversation. His voice low and warm, a faint smile breaking across his face. Mia laughed, shoulders loosening, and for the first time, Julian looked different. Human. Not the untouchable figure I knew, but someone capable of letting another person in. It hit me hard. He wasn't cold with everyone, just with me. I stood by the towel rack, pretending to fold, while something knotted inside me. Jealousy, maybe, or worse. The realization that I'd turned him into something larger than life in my head when, really, he just chose to keep me out. After that, I tried harder. A casual remark about the weather, a question about the heat, anything to break through. Each attempt fell flat. "It's fine," he'd answer. Or, "Good enough," his eyes never meeting mine. I started wondering if I'd pushed too much, if my eagerness showed. And the more he pulled away, the more I wanted to know why. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was gravity. I caught myself replaying his smallest replies, searching for meaning in a nod or a glance. One evening, as he reached for his towel and headed toward the lockers, I followed, my pulse racing. "Everything okay?" I asked, leaning casually against the counter, trying to sound at ease. He froze for a beat, back still to me, then turned slightly, his answer short. "Yeah, all good." But the stiffness in his shoulders gave him away. My voice alone felt like an intrusion. He left without another word, and I stayed there, rooted in place. I gripped the counter, trying to understand why his distance cut so deeply. The low hum of the sauna faded, but the weight in my chest only tightened. Julian wasn't just a puzzle anymore. He'd become a challenge I wasn't sure I could solve. When a leaky pipe shut down the main room, we had to move everyone into the smaller, stuffier backup sauna. The benches were closer, the air heavier, and the usual space people carved out for themselves was gone. For the first time, Julian couldn't retreat to his high perch or stay apart. He sat shoulder to shoulder with the regulars, and I saw a side of him I hadn't before. He started talking. First with Sam about some long-ago naval battle, then with a newcomer about stretching techniques. His voice was calm, even warm, and a half-smile flickered across his face that caught me off guard. I lingered by the thermostat, pretending to adjust it, just watching him connect. Something he never did with me. And it stung. I kept busy, rotating towels, pouring cedar oil, chatting with the others. But my attention always drifted back to Julian. He chuckled at Tara's quick remarks, nodded along with Sam's stories, but when I stepped near, his words disappeared. A quick thanks for the towel, a fleeting glance that didn't hold. Suddenly I felt like a stranger in the very place I ran. The regulars noticed. Tara grinned one night and teased, "You're staring at the broker again, Ethan." I laughed it off, but inside, my chest tightened. Why was I invisible to him? Then came the evening that shifted everything. The room emptied out early, leaving just the two of us in the misty heat. The steam hissed softly, and I decided I couldn't hold it in anymore. I sat across from him on the lower bench, closer than I'd ever dared. "Did I do something to upset you?" I asked quietly, the words edged with frustration. Julian opened his eyes, surprised. For a second, I braced for the same distant dismissal. Instead, he leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "No, Ethan. You didn't do anything." His tone was steady, not unkind. "Then why do you act like I'm the problem?" I pressed. The question slipped out raw, more vulnerable than I meant. He exhaled, rubbing his palms together. "I just keep things professional, that's all." But it wasn't just that. His eyes flickered, and in them I caught something. Guilt, maybe. Or fear. I pushed again. "You talk to everyone else. Why not me?" That's when he stood. Julian snatched his towel, and I thought he'd walk straight out. But at the door, he stopped. "It's easier to keep my distance," he murmured, barely audible. "You notice too much. It unsettles me." The words lingered in the humid, air, raw and exposed. Before I could answer, he slipped into the locker room. Later, while closing up, I found him by the water fountain, standing as if he were waiting. My pulse quickened as I walked over. "What do you mean I noticed too much?" I asked. He didn't meet my eyes. His gaze stayed on the floor. "You pick up on things, how I sit, how I move when I arrive. It feels like you're reading me. I'm not used to that." His voice wavered. "I've been burned before, Ethan. Keeping space feels safer." He grabbed his bag and left, but the weight of his words stayed. For the first time, I saw the cracks in his armor, small, but enough to glimpse the fear beneath. I didn't know if I could reach him, but I knew I wasn't ready to stop trying. When the smaller sauna kept us in close quarters, something shifted. His walls didn't collapse, but they softened. After hours, we lingered, me wiping down benches, him sipping water by the lockers. Small talk crept in. The rain, a new coffee shop, Sam's endless stories. His replies were short but less guarded. Once, he even laughed, a low, unpracticed sound that caught me off guard. I started leaving chamomile tea in the break room, knowing he'd take a cup. He never thanked me, but he stayed longer. The silences between us grew less heavy, more natural. Then came the night that changed everything. The sauna emptied early, leaving just the two of us. Julian sat on the middle bench, knees apart, hands loose. I joined him. The steam curled thick around us. Neither of us spoke, but the quiet pulsed with meaning. He shifted closer, his arm, brushing mine. Then slowly he leaned in. His lips touched mine, soft, tentative, carrying the faint taste of chamomile. It wasn't rushed, it was honest. When we pulled back, his eyes met mine, unguarded, just for once. I smiled. He gave a small nod, like we'd reached an unspoken agreement. But the next day, everything cracked. Marcus, one of the gruffer regulars, walked past the lockers just as my hand lingered on Julian's arm. His eyes narrowed. As he brushed by, he muttered, "Not here." The word stung like a slap. Julian tensed, jaw clenched, and left without speaking. I froze, towel in hand, the air around me suddenly sharp. My sanctuary felt exposed. It didn't take long for Marcus's comment to spread. Whispers drifted like steam. Sideways glances, a cough that carried judgment. Tara cut it off with a sharp, "Mind your own business." But the damage was done. Julian vanished for 3 days. I buried myself in work, restocking towels, adjusting the heat, but my thoughts circled only him. Had I pushed too far? Was that kiss a mistake? On the 4th day, he returned. But instead of heading to the steam room, he slipped into the break room. I found him there, hunched over, staring at a water bottle, his hands clenched tight. I sat down beside him. I sat beside him, waiting. At last, his voice broke the silence, low and unsteady. "I'm not good at this, Ethan. Being seen. I've lost people. Family, an ex who outed me before I was ready. It shattered me." He paused, exhaling hard. "You make me want to try again, but then, Marcus, it's a reminder. People judge, and I don't know if I'm strong enough." I touched his hand lightly. "You don't have to be strong alone," I said. He didn't pull away, though doubt clouded his eyes. "I want this," he whispered, "but I'm scared of the cost." We sat there in silence, his hands beneath mine. Outside, the murmurs spread, Marcus whispering, his disapproval sharp as ever, but inside, something held. Not a promise, not yet, but a choice to stay, even with the weight pressing down. Julian didn't run. After that night in the break room, he kept coming back. He sat closer now, his presence steadier, less guarded. The whispers lingered, but Tara and Sam pushed back, casual support that worked like a shield. Julian began waiting for me after shifts, leaning against the counter with 2 cups of chamomile tea already poured. We'd talk about the endless Seattle rain, his love for obscure history podcasts, my habit of overthinking. Every word felt like a step small, deliberate, toward something real. One Sunday, we met at the farmer's market near Capitol Hill. He inspected basil leaves with exaggerated seriousness, and I teased him for it. He smirked. "Here, smell this," he said, holding a sprig out. Our fingers brushed, and somehow that simple touch felt weightier than the kiss we'd shared. We walked the stalls together, shoulders bumping, trading coffee cups and stories. He told me about his family, how they cut him off when he came out, how betrayal from someone he trusted had left him raw. "I built walls to survive," he said, staring at his cup, "but you make me want to bring them down." I nodded, not pressing, just listening. That was enough. Back at the sauna, Marcus's glare hadn't faded. One evening, he cornered me by the towel rack. "This isn't the place for that," he said, voice low, sharp. I met his stare. "It's a place for everyone, Marcus." He walked away, but his words clung like steam. Julian overheard. Later, in the empty sauna, he gripped my hand firmly. "I'm not hiding anymore," he said. "Not from him, not from anyone. It wasn't a grand declaration, but it was his truth. And it steadied me. Our connection grew in the quiet moments. Julian began leaving notes on the counter, quotes from books, small scraps of courage written in ink. "Courage is just fear that keeps moving." I'd find them after closing, slipping them into my pocket like secret treasures. On weekends, we wandered Seattle's streets together, trading stories under the glow of streetlights. He told me he had started writing again, journaling thoughts he'd buried for years. One evening, he read me a page, his voice soft but steady, about finding a safe harbor after a storm. "That's you," he said, eyes fixed anywhere but mine. My throat tightened. I couldn't answer, but the words stayed with me. The sauna remained our anchor. Even when Marcus muttered barbs, others stood quietly in our corner. Tara handed us matching keychains, a playful nod to what she saw. Sam stopped calling Julian the broker and instead asked how his week was going. The space felt warmer, not just from the steam, but from the acceptance that gathered there. One night, Julian lingered after closing, helping me fold towels and stack them neatly. As we turned the key in the lock, he paused. "You're still here," he murmured, almost to himself. "Even when I'm a mess." I smiled. "Always will be." He pulled me close, his forehead pressing gently against mine, and we stood breathing, in rhythm. No more words were needed. Our love wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was built on patience, small gestures, and the courage to keep choosing each other. Marcus never apologized, but his silence said enough. He'd lost his sway. What mattered was this. Julian and I kept showing up, not with grand promises, but with presence.